All right, so I am here with Mike Koch, Terra Firma Realty from Madison, Wisconsin. He came all the way down to Florida just to do this video with us today. That's not accurate. That's not why he came down, but it's a bonus that we get to have him in town. And, you know, as agents, this year is a little different than what has happened over the past couple of years. And so there are some strategies that we need to implement today, fourth quarter, before we roll into 2024 and ready to talk about what we need to do to make sure that we don't become a statistic of people that fall out of the business.
Yeah, there's a lot of fallout that's happening right now, and I know NAR forecasted by the end of the year they expect 30% of realtors to be out of the business. I mean, that's a big number, and I hate to see that. As oversaturated as I think the industry is right now, I hate to see anybody fail, right? I mean, every realtor has a family, and you hate to see them fall on hard times. But it's a very different market, and we have to be doing things differently than we did last year. Now, if you had wild success because you were just grinding away and really doing all the right fundamental things, like, don't stop doing those. But there are some new things that we need to do. As you mentioned, the market has shifted. This is a very different year than last year, and that was a different year than the year before. But it's also the fourth quarter, and to me, it's the most exciting time of the year as a real estate agent for a couple different reasons. But we really need to be focusing on building our skills right now. Things have changed. Appraisals are back. Home inspections are a thing. We have interest rates that we haven't seen in probably 25 to 30 years. We have inventory levels that are the lowest they've been in a lot of areas of the country. So we're very much working with different dynamics than we were before. And we need to be working on developing our skills. And I don't think that's anything that should go away. So we should be out there working on how we're going to write strong offers, how we're going to take care of our clients, what's the scripts and dialogue look like, the objections that we're hearing from our clientele. We need to practice those and understand how to respond to them. Beyond that skill building, it's also really important that part of that skill building is just understanding our marketplace. We should be in our MLS looking at current market data for about 15 minutes a day. And it doesn't matter if we're talking to a family member or we're talking to a client. It doesn't matter if they're a buyer or a seller. The more educated we are, knowledge equals power. And the more educated we are, the better guide and consultant that we can be to our clients. So that's going to fall into skill building, is gaining more education and knowledge.
You know, I've had my real estate license for 17 years at this point. You're even longer than that. And I remember the first embarrassingly long number of years where people would ask me what was going on in the real estate market, and I had no idea. Like, I just didn't know because I didn't study it. And I was a real estate professional at that point, and I still was not very well versed in what was going on in the market. Since then, I made a commitment that nobody on my team would be in that same situation of how I started. And so we go over those stats at least on a weekly basis, what's going on. And part of the education process that you're talking about is also allowing them, empowering them, you know, the agent, to be able to feel good about educating the client. Because at the end of the day, we need to understand it so that we can advise the client appropriately. And so if you're in a listing presentation or you're speaking with a buyer, how powerful is it to show, over the past 2 years, here's what's happened with the market, and we can look at prices, we can look at inventory, pace of sales, all of these things when you have the data and when you understand that data. So that's a really good point. You had mentioned something about making strong offers, and that one, I want to understand that a little bit better, what you mean by that, because a lot of times it's like, hey, buyers can negotiate for the first time in a few years. So tell me what you mean, by that.
Yeah, well, that's certainly changed too, because a strong offer used to be before really clean. The highest price would typically win, and as few contingencies, if any contingencies at all. Now a buyer is able to win with different loan types that they couldn't win with before, inspections, appraisal contingencies, even financing contingencies. So it's a really great time to be a buyer. That's something that we have used the market data to help us in conversations, because we are in the fall, the holidays are coming up. It gets to be a busy time in November and December for families. Moving tends to not be as common of a thing for them. There's just so many life things going on. But when we analyzed the data, we saw that In our area, prices typically start to fall a little bit. Competitive offers aren't as much of a thing. Homes start to stay on the market for a little bit longer, and it creates a really great buying opportunity for our buyers. But then seasonality kicks in, and then it gets busy again, and prices start to go up, and competition gets a little bit stronger. So for us, we found that for the next 90 days, we're in a window that creates a great buying opportunity. And so those people who decided to sit on the sidelines because it was so competitive a couple months ago, or because interest rates are so high, we're now having conversations about them of why they should be buying now and how in a few months it's going to look very, very different and may even be less affordable or not even an option for them.
Yeah, and the other side of all of this too is being creative with how we're working with buyers. Because we say, hey, it's great. The market has shifted quite significantly towards being a buyer's market. And so that's great. And then a buyer's like, well, interest rates are, 8%. Yeah. And so that's deflating to them. But it's not, if we look at being creative with how we're finding property for our clients or how we're negotiating those deals, maybe we find a property that has an assumable loan with that. Maybe we're able to get the seller to commit towards closing costs. That's a 2-1 buy down or something to help reduce the interest rate for a period of time. There's a lot of creative things that I think we can implement in our serving of buyers, because the reality is that they are constantly being bombarded by what the media is telling them. Yeah. And so our job as professionals is to give them the reality, because sometimes that may, what the media says, there's obviously truth to interest rates. Like that is a reality. But does that mean there's no hope? Right. No. There's options out there, but sometimes the media will just turn them off completely, and we have to be able to educate the client really well to help them understand there may be good options for them out there.
Yeah, those are all great strategies to deploy in those situations. And we just had one within our team where there was a house that had been on the market for just a little bit longer than the normal average days on market. And we had a buyer that was really concerned about the interest rates, but we were able to negotiate a $15,000 seller credit that's going to go to a 3-2-1 buy down. So the next 3 years, this consumer is going to save on average more than $400 a month on their mortgage. And the hope is that they can refinance within the next 3 years. This isn't something that 6 months ago we would have been able to do because the competition was so fierce. So it goes back to that skill building, understanding what strategies to deploy in the right situation, and gaining more knowledge and education to help your consumer.
Yeah, it's really good advice. So being that we are fourth quarter, if you will, implementing, etc., what about planning? Is planning something that should be front of mind if we don't have that already for what's going to happen next year?
For sure. I believe that there's two things that need to happen in the fourth quarter. One is that you're taking massive action. To me, the fourth quarter isn't a time for us to be planning what we're going to do in the fourth quarter or even making course adjustments. That should have been done at halftime. That should have been done in June. Right now, we just need to be pedal to the metal. We just got to be full bore action. However, we also have to start planning for next year. And when we plan for next year and roll out that plan in October or early November, we can get a 2.5 month jump on the new year. And the fourth quarter, one of the things I love about it is that the stronger fourth quarter you have, the more momentum you're going to carry into the first quarter and give you more certainty of maybe even having your best year ever if you can carry that momentum in. Too many agents decide to coast in the fourth quarter, specifically in November and December. They're tired. I mean, they've had a long season. The holidays are coming up. They want to take some time with their family, and they start coasting. It's a really great opportunity for the agent who's willing to work to get out there and take market share. Homes are going to be sitting on the market for a little bit longer. There's going to be less competition out there. Agents might not be holding open houses as much. They might not be following up as much. The speed to lead might not be there as much. So the fourth quarter is a really great opportunity for an agent to work and take market share.
Man, this is like a Kobe Bryant motivational speech, because Kobe would get up early. He'd do the work when the other people weren't willing to do it. And fourth quarter, people worry more about buying Christmas presents than they do working in the business, and that's a huge opportunity. So between what's happening with the shakeout of agents in general, fourth quarter naturally happens no matter if agents are leaving the business or not. So action will always trump plans, strategy, and positive thinking.
Right.
I've really come to terms with that. And the other day I was speaking to somebody who was considering coming on board our team, and he was like, "Oh, so all I have to do is do the work?" Because he's been confused because he hasn't had the leads, he hasn't had the direction, all that stuff, and it's like, that's it. You just have to do the work. And so many people got into the business for the wrong reason, and the people who are watching this video, these are the types of people who want to improve themselves and take that kind of action. So that's inspiring to see.
I love your analogy of Kobe Bryant in the fourth quarter. When you look at the end of a game, which players are in the game at the end of the game? Is it the second string players? Is it the role players? Or is it the best athletes that are your best performers?
Yeah, absolutely. Best performers.
It's always the best team. If it's a basketball team, it's the best 5 guys. If it's an NFL team, it's the best 11 guys. Why do so many real estate agents sit on the sideline at the end? I'll tell you who doesn't sit on the sideline. It's the top producing agents too. The top performers knows there's opportunity out there and they're not going to coach just because of the time of the year, or they think the market's slowing down. Part of the market slowing down is because the agents are doing less. What if all the agents worked as hard in December as they did during their high season? I guarantee you wouldn't see as much of a drop off.
Wow. The saying that's always stuck with me is winners want the ball, right? Like winners want the ball, and that's the opportunity is there to take that ball. That's really cool. That's awesome
absolutely.
stuff. Any other tidbits?
Yeah, I got one more, and it's the fourth quarter is also a great time of the year to really get closely connected with your sphere of influence. Right now, we shouldn't be chasing commission checks. We should be chasing relationships. So we need to go deeper with the relationships, not wider with more people, but we need to go deeper. And so focus on the relationship. And with this time of the year, the fourth quarter being a great time to work with your sphere of influence, there's Thanksgiving going on, there's Christmas going on, there's New Year's going on. It's a great opportunity to have wellness checks. Call your family, call your friends, check in them. How are they doing? What plans do they have for the holidays? Are they taking vacation? And most times there'll be an opportunity for real estate to come up. That's where, as long as you have your market knowledge, you can share what's happening in the real estate market so that they don't have to rely on the media.
Yeah, a great point. Because so many times, like if you think about August, for example, people are like, you need to touch your sphere and speak to your sphere, but it's like, what do you say to them? Like you sort of run out of dialogue, if you will, and it's a perfect opportunity to just be about them. Calling to wish you, happy holidays.
Absolutely.
How's the family doing, etc. One other, quick thing that we're doing, we've done this for 3 years now, that could be a good idea if you wanted to do it in your business, is a pay it forward campaign. So Starbucks makes it pretty easy. We give out to our sphere a digital gift card for 2 coffees, really. So we want them to buy coffee on us for the person behind them. So it's a pay it forward campaign. And so then it reloads every time. We'll put $15 on it and it reloads every time that somebody uses it. But they really appreciate it. It's, it spreads the holiday cheer, and it's just something fun. And you say, there's $200 or something like that that's on this card maximum, and it cuts off after that point, and people just feel good about those types of things. So there's just a lot of opportunities to make a positive influence on people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important because there's a lot of negative things going on in the world right now. Like people need to see the better side of humanity. They need to be giving and that kind of thing. So.
Well, people tend to forget what you said. They may forget what you did, but they always remember how you made them feel. Yeah. And so I love that you're doing that, especially during this time of the year.
It's good stuff. All right. Thanks, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Brad.
All right.